Good morning. It is 11 a.m. and on behalf of the Office of Global Learning and Strategy, we would like to welcome you to the F1 International Student COVID-19 webinar. Just a few housekeeping updates prior to entering into the presentation. All participants have been muted at this time. In order to promote engagement, there is a chat option that is at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to live chat with us. Your questions, your concerns will be addressed towards the end of the presentation during our question and answer time. So again, thank you for joining us today for the International Student Webinar, and let's begin. So your presenters today are myself, Dr. Johna McClendon, the Director of International Admissions and Student Services. And with me, I have my colleague.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's Stephanie Holleran. I'm the Senior International Student Advisor.
So some of the topics that we'll be discussing today is what is COVID-19, the prevention, the University of Houston Clear Lake travel policy, international travel and travel restrictions, the UHCL online course options that was recently implemented at the beginning of this week, March 23rd, additional options that our F1 international students have. You also have the opportunity of hearing from two of our international students today, your future at University of Houston Clear Lake, and then any open questions. So what is COVID-19, or what is the coronavirus? COVID-19, and this is according to the CDC, COVID-19 is an infectious disease that causes respiratory illness, such as the flu, with symptoms such as cough, fever, and in more severe cases, pneumonia. The virus is thought to spread mainly from person to person, between people who are in close contact with one another within about 6 feet, through respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. So prevention.
So you want to make sure that during this time you take some steps to protect yourself. So we want to be washing our hands often. If you know the American version of the Happy Birthday song, or you can use your own Happy Birthday song from your home country, you can use that, sing it twice to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap and water, especially after you have been outside in a public space or after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. If soap and water is not readily available, then you would want to use some of the hand sanitizer. Cover all surfaces of your hands and rub them until they are dry. And then obviously you want to try your best to avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with any unwashed hands. You also want to avoid close contact with other people. As the CDC and Harris County have said, you need to stay at least 6 feet away from people when you're outside your home. You want to put distance between yourself and other people if COVID-19 is spreading in your community. So you want to keep up to date on the news about what is happening within Houston. And part of that is also just to exercise the social distancing. You can go outside and exercise during this time, but you want to stay apart from other people.
Okay. COVID-19 and protecting others. In the event you feel sick, or you're coughing or you're sneezing, as Stephanie just stated, and we want to reiterate, make sure you're cleaning, you're disinfecting. In the event that you have contracted COVID-19, just take additional precautionary measures, wear the face mask, ensure you're, again, exercising, social distancing. Later in the presentation, we'll talk about healthcare services and what that looks like with your healthcare. So these are just ways in the event that you have coronavirus, ways to protect others as well as yourself and from spreading. Okay. UHCL travel policy. If you have recently traveled to countries from which the CDC has issued a level 2 or level 3 travel warning related to COVID-19, please ensure that you visit our UHCO website and you submit the self-reporting form that have been created. Within Global Learning and Strategies, if you plan on traveling back home during this time within the coming days, please make sure that you report to OIAP. I'm going to pull up the form so that you all can just take a look at it and see what the form looks like. Okay. If you are traveling in the coming days, in the coming weeks, please make sure that you report to our office by utilizing this self-reported form that we have here. Also, reach out to us, our advisors, our counselors, so that we can continue to advise you accordingly. Okay, so back to the presentation. Again, please fill out the University of Houston Clear Lake UHCO reporting form, as well as the OIAP prior to traveling outside of the country.
So there, every day there's different international travel and travel restrictions coming out. We recommend that everyone in the community examines your personal travel plans and make changes or precautions when necessary. You want to heed all warnings from the the U.S. Department of State travel warnings, the CDC, which is the Center for Disease Control travel warnings, and keep abreast of what's happening, especially either in your home country and here in the United States, as everything is basically changing every day. Many of the U.S. embassies overseas are now closed to all visa appointments. So if you were planning to travel and your visa is expired, you would not be able to re-enter the United States until you were able to get that renewed. So you just need to think about that before you decide to leave the United States. And then also, again, as Dr. McClendon mentioned, you just want to reach out to your international student advisor to talk about your plans to see what we can do, if we can do anything to help you with that.
Okay, the University of Houston Clear Lake online courses. As we know and have been communicated, President Ira Blake released a statement on March the 11th of 2020, indicating that all university courses will be offered online beginning Monday, March 23rd, 2020. So the transition through Blackboard has been made at the beginning of the week and is in full transition of international and domestic students attending classes online. So the next few slides will be discussing how this impacts you as an international student, as well as your F1 status.
So SEVP and the U.S. Department of Citizenship and Immigration Services, or USCIS, provided an update indicating that any F1 international student who is participating in all online classes during this time for the spring 2020 semester will not be in violation of your F1 status, provided that you are enrolled full-time. So you still have to maintain that 9 credit hours for our graduate students and 12 credit hours for any undergraduate students. So because the university made the decision to move everything online, you are not out of status, and you can participate in these online courses either here in the United States or at home in your home country or anywhere else in the world, because it's online for the spring 2020 semester.
Okay. And just to reiterate what Ms. Holleran stated, the USCIS did issue a broadcast to all international institutions that host F1 international students, and made the exception for you all to not be out of status, and that you can exceed the regular online course requirements, so that you can continue as long as you maintain the credit hours that you're supposed to be enrolled in for that semester. You'll continue to maintain your status.
Another option for you, if you do come in contact and have COVID-19, provided you have that original documentation from a medical doctor, or doctor of osteopathy or a clinical psychiatrist, you are entitled to a medical reduced course load. And again, we would work with you to submit that through the ISD portal and work with you on those options if you needed to drop a class for the spring 2020 semester because of a medical reason.
Okay. And Stephanie, do you want to highlight any new developments around potential economic hardship of students in the event
Yes.
that it affects them directly and their sponsors from
Right.
outside of the country?
Correct. So USCIS has been asked by our professional association, NAFSA, the Association for International Educators, to consider special student relief for international students who are being affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And what this would mean is that you could apply for an EAD card that would allow you to work off campus anywhere, it's not related to your field of study. So the special student relief has not come out yet, but we're hoping that USCIS might come out with that. So the other option that you do have is severe economic hardship, which is an EAD card application that you would apply to USCIS for, but you would need to show proof that your financial situation and whoever your sponsor was is no longer able to provide sponsorship for you for this semester and moving forward in terms of what's going on in your home country, whether your country's on lockdown, if your sponsors have lost their jobs, things like that, it would need to be shown to USCIS. The issues with that is it does take a minimum of 90 days for USCIS to process these applications, and they're not always guaranteed. And then also the other thing to consider is, would you be able to find a job once you got that EAD card to help you at that time? The same work hour rules apply. You can work part-time during the semester on severe economic hardship or full-time during the summer if you are granted severe economic hardship by USCIS. And if you are interested in talking about that, please reach out to your international student advisor and we can provide information.
Okay. We just had a respondent raise their hand, and I believe it's in regards to the EAD, just from what I see in the notes. We'll touch base on the EAD card and OPT economic hardship further when we go into our FAQ sections, and we'll talk about the OPT as well. Okay, university-related housing. For the summer 2020, we want to reiterate to all international students that university-related housing is a very, very important option for you all to consider in the event that you are unable to return back home to your country. Please work with our office. Our AVP, Dr. Gigi Doe, is working very closely with the VP of Student Affairs with regards to on-campus housing and university-related housing. So please touch base with us in our office with our advisors to identify how we can accommodate you and how we can assist you with on-campus housing or related housing in our area at UHCL in the event you're just not able to travel back home. Okay. Health services and health insurance. And this is really verbatim from our health services site and their information. The health services objective is to keep both you healthy and educated. Health services provides all students with quality health care with board certified physicians and registered nurses and support staff. Their objective is to be a resource to guide you as students, faculty, and staff through health and wellness related to questions by offering proactive health education services. I also have here a link that I will pull up here that is directly related to your AHP healthcare. I'm going to share that with you all as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to visit the AHP site. There is COVID-19 information that is here readily available to you. There's an information sheet for student resources based off of COVID-19 that was released on March 10th. So please take this information and utilize it. Okay. I'm going to go back to the presentation here. And we're returning back to the presentation. Okay. All right. So that's where you can find your healthcare benefits and more information on how you can be supported through this time.
So we also have UHCL's counseling services is available to you as a currently enrolled student. You just want to stay up to date on their Facebook, Instagram, and their website for how they're doing some advising and counseling during this time. They have some support groups open for during Zoom meetings each day. So definitely take a look at all of that. Our Dr. Scott Richardson, our UHCL's Chief Diversity Officer and the Title IX Coordinator, who most of you should have met during your orientation, wants any student who's experienced any bullying, discrimination, or harassment due to fear of COVID-19 can reach out to him or the Equity and Diversity Office for assistance in that matter if you do experience some of that due to COVID-19 fears.
Okay, so at this time, we will hear from our very own international students. Harshit will go first, and I will unmute him because he is muted at this time. So after I unmute him, then he will go in and just give his take on being an international student and the support and information that he's received at this time. Harshit, you're unmuted.
Okay, so well, hello everyone, and hello Johna and Stephanie.
Hi.
So these are the points that I jotted down so that what we are following and what we want all our fellow international students to follow. So the first one goes with, we have to exercise social distancing, and mainly we have to, go ahead with washing our hands regularly, using hand sanitizers, and keeping our surroundings clean. And since we are all at home and we have all the time, let's cook and eat healthy food. And watching news and being aware of our surroundings is really important, but it's not that we have to start spreading rumors about not everything that we watch on Google or on news is exactly accurate. So we'll have to wait for the actual update from the UHCL website and what's going on. And apart from that, we also have to keep all of you have to keep in mind that OIAP is always there to help our fellow international students. And that's it from my side.
Thank you, Harshit. Thank you. And we'll have Ms. Tran at this time. Let me unmute Ms. Tran. Okay, you're unmuted.
Good morning, everyone. So to me, the world is talking a lot about the coronavirus this day, and it's really hard to know what to listen to. So to me, it's really important not to panic by watching too much videos or reading too much news. And all we need to do is just follow the guidelines given by the CDC and UHCL. So basically, we can follow the basic steps like Ms. Stephanie already mentioned about practice social distancing, not going to bars or restaurants, avoid close contact with sick people, wash your hands often, and stuff like that. So that's all I think.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Tam.
Thank you. Thank you both. Amazing diplomats that we have in Office of Global Learning and Strategy. And thank you both for your take on COVID-19. Okay. So a few FAQs. We have some in the chat that are asking about graduation and graduating. So we'll answer a few of those questions. Just to address another concern in the chat, someone's being blocked by a firewall. Yes, it is okay to go and call in. And Andrew, thank you so much for providing that information. Stephanie, would you like to go forth with the first FAQs?
Sure. So we covered the first one, will online instruction cause me to lose my immigration status? The answer to that for spring 2020 is no. The Department of Homeland Security has issued guidance that will allow students to continue the semester with online courses without jeopardizing their immigration status, regardless of where you're participating in that online class.
Okay. What do I do if my visa is about to expire and I cannot return home? You may stay in the United States on an expired F1 visa as long as you maintain your immigration status by keeping your I-20 valid and continuing in a normal enrollment in course of study. Okay. Will I be able to maintain my immigration? Go ahead, Stephanie. It's okay.
Sorry. Will I be able to maintain my immigration status if I immediately return home and return for the fall semester? So only if the classes are offered the remainder of the semester online, which since they are being offered online through the end of May 3rd, which is, I believe, the last day of class, then yes, you can return home and return for the fall semester and you will still be in status.
And this is a question that we received within our pre-submitted questions about OPT. Will I still be able to apply for OPT this semester? Do I have to be present in the United States to apply? You must be physically inside of the United States at the time that you submit your OPT. Your OPT application will be processed as you request within the ISD portal through GLS. If you've not applied for OPT yet, but plan to do so, we strongly encourage that you do now. During this time, Ms. Stephanie Holleran, she will be hosting a OPT webinar, such as this one, next Wednesday. She will do the same as we have done and communicate with all alumni that are on OPT. We can also extend to current students for students who may have questions about submitting their OPT at this time as well. We'll also address some more of the pre-submitted questions regarding the EAD cards. How does the EAD card, whether one of the response centers are closed down, what do you do in that gap, in that grace period? That will all be discussed during that specified OPT webinar next Wednesday as well.
If I vacate my current on or off-campus residence and relocate to a new address, do I need to report it within 10 days? The answer to this question is always yes. Every time you move, you have to report it within 10 days. You can change your address in e-services. It's called the CVIS address, and then that will be go over to your CVIS record.
Will my health insurance continue throughout the spring 2020 semester with the transition to online instruction? We just recently went over the AHP website, which is indicated here again. And this is to reiterate that your insurance will continue through the spring 2020 and the summer semester, as both of those were compilations whenever you initially received and purchased your insurance. So you will be covered from spring 2020 to the summer term.
How will CPT be affected in the event I cannot complete my internship hours? So we suggest that you contact your internship faculty in our office to assist in alternative options for the completion of your spring 2020 internship. I've been in contact with those of you who are currently on CPT, and we have communicated about what you're doing. So thank you for your responses to that. That has helped make sure that we know what is happening with your CPT for the spring semester.
Okay, and also we would like to note through our AVP, Dr. Gigi Doe, for students who are on OPT, she is now in an implementation phase of providing scholarships and funding for students who are currently on OPT and would like to do a change of major to return back to the university in the event a student on OPT is furloughed, or in the event they are unable to find employment during this time. Dr. Doe is implementing those options for you students so that you can at least return back to the university, maintain your status while you're here in the United States through a change of major program, and you'll receive funding for that. Number 8, if I graduate May 2020, what are my options? We have a few options. You can remain in the United States and apply for OPT, optional practical training. You can request a change of education level or a change of degree program, what we just discussed, to pursue another degree at the University of Houston Clear Lake. You do have the option to return home during this time, or you can pursue another degree in the United States, and we have the ability to transfer your record to another institution.
If I'm not able to return home for the summer term, what are my options? You want to contact our office to assist you in university-related housing for the summer.
Okay. All right. So this time, we're doing great on time. We have a few questions that we can answer in the chat. If you have questions, please submit now so that we can answer those live. So we have a few questions about EAD cards, about how does the EAD card work? What are the certain requirements? How do we get the EAD cards? And how does it affect OPT? Okay, and this is from Harshit. Again, Stephanie will host a OPT session, but if you wanted to, you can just kind of give a precursor of what the session will include, Stephanie.
Right. I think Harshit is referring to the severe economic hardship EAD card, if I'm correct. Yes. Okay. So that does not affect your OPT or at all. Like, it's not related. It's a totally different type of work authorization. It's just you have to collect a lot of documentation about what is happening to your sponsor. And have like news articles and bank statements and proof that a business has stopped, things like that, in order to apply to USCIS. I know we recently did one for a student, and I think it took almost 4 months to get approved. So those are some of the concerns with the severe economic hardship. You're going to spend $410 for that application to USCIS, and then wait 3 to 4 months for a yes or a no. So those are some of the things that you have to think about when deciding if you want to apply for that. We're hopeful that USCIS may come out with a special student relief option, but again, that has not been published yet, and that would be published in the Federal Register and would be like a actual like code of regulation that would allow that to happen. Does that answer your question, Harshit? Okay, thank you.
There's another really great question that was from Ram. International students are facing difficulties paying the fees due to financial crisis at home or in the country, which we can include in the economic hardship if this is what you are experiencing from back home. Also, we are getting online classes from which fees should be reduced. Taking these into account, it would be helpful. Okay. As it states now, this is a discussion that has been across the board, that I know that leadership, they're re-reviewing and they are discussing and wanting to implement some things in regards to the student fees at this time. This is the best answer that we can provide, that this is up for discussion. It is on the table and will be a little more clear in the coming days, in the coming weeks to come, to identify how this would be addressed from those fees, from transitioning online from the actual face-to-face classroom. We're hoping to provide a more definitive answer. We have everyone's contact information from logging into the Zoom today, and we can most certainly give you more clearer follow-up regarding these fees once we receive that final definitive answer on what this looks like futuristically for us. Okay, another question.
I see some more questions about EAD card processing time. Again, that's up to USCIS. As I have mentioned in our OPT info sessions, it can range anywhere from 30 days to 120 days. We don't know what's going to happen with EAD card processing. The service centers are not closed at this time. There is no updated guidance on any relief for students on OPT. So all of the rules that apply for post-completion OPT, 90 days of unemployment, start date within 60 days of the end date of the semester, those are all still in effect. If SEVP updates their guidance almost weekly with new questions and answers as they come in from universities and as their policy department comes up with policy, we will update you when we have that information, but for now, OPT remains the same.
Okay. And we'll take 2 more questions, Stephanie, okay? So we can be mindful of our time. So that's OPT, I-20. Husseina asks, what are the visa implications if I want to go back home to complete my degree online? Husseina, that is perfectly fine if you plan to go back to your country. As long as you have a valid visa, your visa is valid, your I-20 is valid, and you decide to go back home to your country and complete your courses online. The only precaution is when classes will return back face-to-face. You want to ensure that you're reported back and your I-20 is reported here in the United States and you're active here, because it's not, whenever we register records after we have returned back face-to-face, if you have not registered and you're not here in the United States, then your I-20 would be in jeopardy because we couldn't register you because you're outside of the country. So that's one thing that I want you to keep in mind. But at this time, if you want to travel back, as long as the courses are online, then that's fine. You can return back home. Okay. Stephanie, you want to choose one more question?
Sure. There's so many. So there's 2 things. Another one about OPT. If you don't receive your EAD card after 60 days after graduation, you do not have to return home because you can remain in the US while you're waiting for your EAD card to arrive. As we mentioned, in the OPT info sessions, you stay until your EAD card. USCIS can always change your start date to a later date as well. And Harshit had a question about final exams being online. I would say you reach out to your professors about that individually. And also, as a reminder to everyone, just everything is changing day by day. And so different decisions will be coming out, and we will be doing our best to keep you updated on all of those different, whatever is happening in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. So just flexibility and patience, I think, is very important at this time.
Okay. All right. A few resources that we have, please continue to monitor the CDC website, the Texas Department of Health Services, U.S. Department of State travel advisories. Please continue to visit our website. We have updated information that's there, our advising site as well. Please remember, if you do plan on traveling, the form that we showed earlier, please feel free to fill that out and communicate with your specific advisor in global learning and strategy so that we can advise you appropriately prior to your travel outside the United States. Your future at UHCL, please feel free to connect with us on Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube. We are here to support you during this time. We are willing to make any necessary accommodations that we can to help and support you. And before we conclude, in the words of President Ira Blake, stay focused, stay healthy, work hard, keep a positive attitude. That is the Hawk way. If you have any further questions, please reach out to us via email at oiap@uhcl.edu. Thank you all for joining us today. Again, we have another webinar that we want to market for next Wednesday, which is the OPT webinar that will dive into a lot of the EAD questions that we have here. But thank you again, everyone. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support, and the Office of Global Learning and Strategies is here for you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Bye.